Hello, my CFA friends. How are you, my friends? So, welcome to the next chapter in our series on the overview to the CFA program. Today, we take a deep dive into pass rates, and we're going to start by talking about a history lesson from the 60s. We're going to look at what actually happened on the very first CFA exam. We will then look at the candidate composition across levels these days. So what percentage are level 1, level 2, and level 3? Effectively, how many survive as we rank up through the levels. Then we are going to think about how easy it is to pass on a first attempt. Of course, we all want to pass and sail through the program without any failures, but how many of us, statistically speaking, are going to be able to do that? And finally, we're going to look at seasonality. And when I say seasonality, I mean, are we able to time the market in any way? Are we able to cherry pick sittings where we're going to have perhaps a slightly better chance of passing? So if that sounds interesting, let's get started. And let me start you with a little bit of a history lesson. We're going to take a time machine and go back 61 years from 2024 back to 1963. How many of you were around in 1963? I'm guessing not many, right? So the first exam was indeed administered in 1963. And what an exciting exam that was. It was a very, very different exam to what we're accustomed to see today, because instead of 3 levels, there was only a single level. So if you were able to survive that single level, you would then be eligible to become a charter holder. So very different to the reality today, where you have to spend 18 months, maybe more than that, to sail through 3 levels. Nope, there was only 1 level. And there weren't the tens of thousands of candidates that we are accustomed to seeing every year. No, the first brave pioneers were 284 people who set the first CFA exam, and of those 284 people, 268 passed and 16 unfortunately failed, giving us a pass rate for the very, very first CFA exam of 94%, my friends. And I think those were the days. Just think about it. 1 single level and a 94% pass rate. That's where we should have really set the exam if we had been given the opportunity. It's a very, very different story these days, as we are about to find out. But I really feel bad about the 16 people. Now, what's the situation in this day and age? Of course, we are in 2024, but we are still awaiting the November sitting. So I'm not basing my analysis on 2024, as it is not over. So I'm taking 2023 as an example of a full year. So remember, on the previous slide, we said just shy of 300 people set the first CFA exam, but in 2023, there were 163,000 candidates across all 3 levels. Just let that sink in for a second, my friends. How do we grow from 284 candidates in 1963 to 163,000 candidates 61 years later? And you can use your time value of money buttons to actually calculate the KGR, the compound annual growth rate in candidates over 60 years, 61 years, and it's actually just over 10% per annum. So if that was an asset, I'd certainly be investing in that asset. If an asset can give you 10% compound return over 60 years, you will be able to retire. So I would say we've got very, very healthy growth rate in candidate numbers, and that's exactly what we want to see, because one day we want to be holding the piece of paper. We want to be part of the big CFA family, and we want a lot of other people in that family. We want a lot of other people to know what we have achieved. Now, I deliberately removed the legend from this pie chart because I wanted you guys to guess which one of these three colors is level 1, which one is level 2, and which one is level 3. So pause the video here and think about that. And if you're saying green is level 1, you're absolutely right. Now, the colors are not random. Maybe you don't like my choice of colors, but I chose green because it's green like the grass, symbolizing innocence. So level 1, as you enter the program unsuspectingly, as you don't know what you're setting yourself up for, you are innocent. So I've chosen green for you, my friends. Of course, you will not be unsuspecting if you're watching these videos, because these videos are telling you how easy or how hard the program will be. You will decide by the end of the video. But anyway, that's a level 1 here. More than half of the 163,000 candidates were level 1 candidates. And then we can see that between level 2 and level 3, there was sort of similar sized. Blue, just like the color of the sky, symbolizes level 2 as we soar, as our skills are improving. I decided to color level 2 in blue because it's kind of less innocent compared to level 1, but less dangerous than level 3. And you guessed it, red is level 3, symbolizing danger, as you are almost a black belt in finance. So if we reserve the color black for CFA charter holders who would be black belts in finance, then level 3 candidates should be given the red color, as they are almost black belts. They are red belts, effectively. Now, what I want to show you with this pie chart, and again, just think about what we are learning with this pie chart. Well, there is a boatload of level 1 candidates, and suddenly those candidates completely disappear at levels 2 and 3. So you could actually view level 1 almost as the gatekeeper to the party. Okay, you want to join the party? There is this big bouncer in front of the door who's just simply not going to let most of the candidates in. Okay, a lot of people can attempt level 1. Not a lot of people will survive it. And we're going to obviously look at the pass rate. And that's why it's so important to not just self-study, but to seek professional advice from somebody who has been doing this for basically 2 decades, and to get tips and to strategize and to know exactly what to focus on and what not to focus on. But to cut a long story short, a lot of people attempt, a lot of people begin the journey, not a lot of people finish the journey. And I think one point that I want to make here is that you shouldn't be giving up. If you attempt level 1 and you fail level 1, so be it. It's not the end of the world. You didn't really fail. It was an opportunity to learn. So get up, improve, and keep running in order to finish the marathon. Now let's talk pass rates per level, and I'm going back here 10 years, so I'm looking at the period 2015 to 2024. I didn't want to go back all the way to the 60s because, as you saw, I don't want to be biased by pass rates in the 90s and a single level, so I want to base my analysis on the most recent 10 years. So the average 10-year pass rate per level is given in the table. You can see that on average, 40% of people pass level 1, 46% pass level 2, and 52% pass level 3. So the first thing that I notice here is that the pass rates do improve as I go up levels. But notice that they are all pretty low. So at level 1, less than half of the people pass. So it's not your driving license test. Level 2, also half of the people pass. Less than half of the people pass. And intuitively, you might have thought, well, You've passed level 1, you've passed the most difficult level, which in my opinion is level 2. So surely now you're almost a black belt in finance. Nothing can stop you anymore. Surely level 3 pass rate should be in the 80s and the 90s. But no, my friends, they are not. They're still 52%. Let that sink in. So a red belt in finance is still pretty much only tossing a coin here. Half of them are passing, half of them are failing. So what is therefore the probability of passing all 3 levels on your first attempt, my friends? Well, let's just do some joint probabilities here. Drum roll, please. And the probability is 40 times 46 times 52, which is just shy of 10%, my friends. So let that sink in. In a group of 100 people, less than 10 people are going to pass but without failing at all on their first attempt. Less than 10 people will sail through the program just like that. So again, this isn't there to scare you, but this is almost there to show you, look, guys, don't underestimate this. Start early, put in the hours, internalize the material, do a lot of question practice, come to my course and study. Okay? Because the probabilities here are very, very low. But ultimately, it works also the other way. If you have passed all 3 levels on a first attempt, you should really give yourself a massive, massive pat on the shoulder, and you should feel very special about yourself because you are truly a part of an exclusive club. And I'm very, very pleased that people email me and link me in saying that not only they passed the exam, but they were in the 90th percentile, above the 90th percentile. So essentially what I've been telling them plus what they've been doing has not only worked, has not only allowed them to pass the exam, but actually has allowed them to pass the exam with flying colors. And to finish this short video, I wanted to look at the CFA Level 1 pass rates in greater detail, and I'm going back to February of 2021. And so that's kind of the period when they transitioned from paper-based examination to computer-based examination, and from having it twice a year. I believe 2019, 2020 was twice a year, and then it became 4 times a year, as we've already discussed in previous videos. So I just wanted to take this more recent computer-based testing type of period with 4 sittings per annum. Now, for some reason, they did actually have 5th sitting in 2021. That was the July sitting. I think it may have been because of the COVID deferrals, so they may have just inserted it due to the COVID deferrals. But first of all, what you will notice, and please don't get too scared, you can see here the COVID dip. We actually dipped all the way down to 20%, and this was as the result of people having to defer their exams being canceled due to lockdowns. And I remember it was a very painful period because one of my students actually emailed me pretty much on the eve of the exam saying that they had received an email that the exam wasn't going ahead. And I just thought I would feel very bad about this. Imagine putting in hundreds of hours and stressing over this to only receive an email last minute that, hey, your exam isn't gonna be taking place and you're gonna have to defer it. And of course, not surprisingly, pass rates did suffer in that period. So I'm probably going to ignore that period in my analysis. And you can sort of see that we are hovering just around 40%. Perhaps 40% is some sort of support level here. And in terms of seasonality, if we try to find some sort of seasonality, I can see there's a little peak here, there's a little peak here, and there's a little peak here as well in pass rates. And this actually coincides with the May sittings. So 2022 May, 2023 May, and 2024, May of 24, we had a pass rate for level 1 of over 50%. So I'm wondering whether there's something magical in the water that allows candidates to have a slightly better performance in May. But you can certainly see from this chart that there is a slight peak in May. And then also you can see that there is a slight trough here and here, and that's coinciding with November. So I don't think it's a very, very significant difference. I suppose here it was more significant. So you have maybe, what is this? Maybe 38% in 2023 November versus 52% in May 2024. So I don't think the data is sufficiently long for us to draw a meaningful statistical conclusion, but I still wanted to share this data with you. I don't think you should be making decisions based on this data. And by the way, all the numbers that I'm presenting here, the source is the cfainstitute.org website. So publicly available information you can grab from the website. But back to what I was saying, I don't think you should be trying to time the market in terms of looking at when pass rates are higher or lower. But what's more important for you is to see what your commitments are looking like. Is there something maybe at work that's going to require your attention? Or maybe you're getting married or a friend is getting married. You might have, some honeymoon travel or something that might get in the way of your exam. In which case, my advice is to exercise abundance of caution and go for the following sitting. Give yourself always more time than less time. The other point that I made in a previous video is also climate. Sometimes if I'm in London, generally I recommend to my UK-based, London-based students not to go for August because it can get quite hot. So either you're getting distracted because of the high temperature or you're feeling bad because your friends are in the park picnicking, whereas you are studying hard. So I generally say maybe November is a better period for exam taking because it gets dark earlier. At least it does so here in the UK. Basically in November, I think it gets dark around 3:30, 3:40. I don't know if it's got to do something with the longitude, latitude of where the UK is located. I believe up north it gets darker sooner. But I digress. The point is, it gets darker sooner, it rains, it's cloudy, it's windy, so it's perfect time to study. Although, as we see here, there is a slight dip in pass rate, so you got to trade it. You got to trade the perfect weather for study against a slight dip in pass rates. And ultimately, it's going to be your decision. And you're going to have to look at your individual circumstances. So I cannot make recommendations for everybody. But what I can do is I can offer you a 1-hour Zoom consultation. If you're interested, you can book me and we can go over your study strategy and we can decide what is best for you guys. I can obviously help you with either level 1, or if you're already studying towards level 2, I can also help you with level 2. Also, do check out my website, which is stoinov.co.uk, where you get even more videos. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.